morning, girls. We're back. And yesterday we talked about creation. And yesterday's theme of the day of our gospel talk was that creation sings his praises, right? And today's theme is sin ruins everything. And so we talked about yesterday how God is the creator, right? He made everything, and he made it beautifully, he made it wonderfully, and he made it perfectly. There was not anything wrong with what he made. He looked at it and he said, this is good. And when he made Adam and Eve, he said, you two are good. And when they were made in their perfect forms, they lived in this harmony where they always got along, right? He was such a good husband to her, and she was such a good wife. She encouraged him. She built him up. She loved him. And he loved her, and they walked with God, and they got to just be together in this beautiful harmony. But then there's what we call the fall, and this is from Genesis 3. It says, the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. But God said, you shall not eat of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. So out of all of the Garden of Eden, there was one tree, and it's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that was the one tree God said, you cannot eat of this tree. And so the serpent, he knew. He was like, I'm going to go talk to this woman, and I'm going to be a little bit sneaky. And he said, you will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. And so the woman looked and saw that the tree was good. It was yummy looking food, right? It says it was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes. I imagine this fruit was beautiful and like perfectly ripe and just looked so delicious when she looked at it, right? And the tree was to be desired to make one wise. So not only does this fruit probably smell amazing, look amazing, it's going to taste amazing, but it's going to give her this knowledge. She's going to get to be like God. Her eyes will be open to things that somehow the serpent has convinced her God's been holding out, right? She thinks in this moment, I need to be wise. I need to be like God. And so she took the fruit and she ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. And their eyes were open. They knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. They immediately saw their shame after their eyes were opened. It wasn't just a wisdom of, oh, now we know all these cool things and we know a bunch of math facts and I can add big numbers in my head, right? That's not what this was about. Their eyes were open to good and evil. And even in that moment, now that it says that they were naked, and why did it say that, right? It was because now they looked at each other inappropriately. There was shame and there was sin. When they decided to eat this fruit that God said, no, you cannot have this fruit, they decided to take the lordship that God has, right, into their own hands. They said, I want to be God. I want myself to be praised. We talked about yesterday, creation sings his praises. We were created to give him glory, but what sin does is it makes us want our own glory. And that's what Adam and Eve did when they were tempted. They said, I want the glory. I actually want to know things. God knows some stuff that we don't know. I want to know, and I want to get the glory. And that caused so much pain and sadness. Probably Adam and Eve had their first fight. I mean, when God comes and talks to them, Adam immediately blames Eve. He's like, she did it. And then Eve says, well, the snake, he did it. But I bet they went home later and she goes, are you serious? You just blamed me for all of this, right? All of a sudden, that harmony we talked about, that perfect, wonderful unity they were experiencing was gone because sin ruins everything. The beautiful creation is now marred. Selfishness has entered. We're greedy. We complain. We whine. We're disrespectful and we dishonor people. And the list could go on and on of all the negative effects, right? And Romans, it talks about how just through Adam, right? It says sin came into the world through one man. Adam's sin now means all of us, as babies, we're born into a sinful world. We're born into the fall, and things are hard. You guys, sin ruins everything. Sin is why Jonah didn't want to go talk to the Ninevites. It's why he did not like them. It's why the Ninevites were evil and bad. And it's why there was discord in that. Jonah didn't want them to be saved because he thought they were horrible people. And that was sin in his heart, and it's because of the fall. And Romans 6:23 says, the wages of sin is death. Right? The punishment, what we deserve in our sin is death. It's not immediate. It's not, I tell a lie and I'm struck by lightning. But it's an ultimate separation from God, and that's awful. And we see the effects of sin every day, right? We see it when we hit our siblings, when we talk back to our mom, maybe when we even obey, but we do it rudely, like take out the trash, fine, right? That is sin. That is the effects of the fall on our life. You guys, sin ruins everything. And this feels hopeless as I end this, like, okay, wow, this is heavy. But tomorrow we are going to talk about Jesus, and there is hope.